Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. Today's video is a preview, preseason week 3, Giants vs. Jets, aka the Snoopy Bowl. And I'm excited about this because for the first time all preseason, we have a team or opponent that will be playing their starters for a certain amount of time. Robert Saleh, coach of the Jets, has said that he was going to play his starters for a quarter and a half. What that means, we really don't know. Is it 3-4 series? Depending on how good these drives are, that could be a quarter and a half, 3 to 4 series, and I'm all for that. We did have a joint practice with the Jets earlier this week, and actually had a very good showing against the starters. This being Daniel Jones. I believe Daniel Jones was 14 for 16 or either 15 for 16 in that practice, and he was pretty much lighting the Jets starters up. And you love to hear that because the last 2 weeks we've been going against second team defenses with the Patriots and with the Bengals, and now we have our first chance to see Daniel Jones against starters, and he shows some progression, and you love to see that. And I'm just excited, or hopefully I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow with the game, and hopefully we do get to see Daniel Jones for a series or two against their starters in a game setting where he can be hit. And and practice is one thing, but in practice quarterbacks know that they can't be hit or they're not supposed to be touched. But in the real game where the pressure is real and live, you want to see Daniel Jones have the same type of showing that he did in that joint practice. So that's my idea of what I want to see is Daniel Jones, getting out there with the starting line and having a couple plays against this Jets first team defense in a real game setting. Outside of that, some other highlights for the joint practice. We know the Jets picked up Sauce Gardner, cornerback, one of the top cornerbacks coming out of college. And we had some wide receivers that were able to make some plays against them. Kadarius Toney being one, David Sills being another. And you like to see things like that. Not only is it good on the wide receiver, it's also good on the quarterback to be able to, pick up on those things and build some chemistry against some good competition. Now, that being in a lot of the one-on-one drills, but still building that chemistry, building that timing with your wide receivers, especially a guy like Kadarius Toney that has not played in these preseason games. You want to see him get that chemistry going into week 1 when we play, the Tennessee Titans. But outside of that, good showing also on defense for the joint practice on the Giants side. We saw in the trenches that Evan Neal held up pretty well. Andrew Thomas is having a stellar training camp, and then guys on the defensive side like Dexter Lawrence, another guy Nick Williams, showed pretty well in those practices. So I'm curious to see what happens in this game. Hopefully Brian Dable does play the starters for a bit because we need to see our first team defense against our first team offense against a first team defense, and also our first team defense against a first team offense, for the first time, in this preseason, to get a real gauge, and also just to make us feel better. As Giants fans, we keep hearing, oh, it's against the twos, or you're not playing against the starters. But if we play against the starters tomorrow, there's no excuses after that. You know what I mean? We'll see what we look like against another first team. So I'm excited about that. Now, going into the game, and there's some UDFAs that have a chance to win a spot on this roster. I really believe so. Right now, you figure with going into this final game, probably 90% of the roster is already probably set. It's probably maybe 4 or 5 spots that are really up for grabs, where they don't have a clue of who's going to be there, or if they have a big game, it's going to, or if they make a big impression, they have the chance to make the 53. And to me, I'm just going to list some of these guys, especially for the undrafted free agents. Timon Fox. Timon Fox is a guy that I've been highlighting every week of the preseason so far, and he hasn't let me down. The guy is making some plays. He actually ended the last game with a nice forced fumble, in that Bengals game. But another guy is going to be Trenton Thompson, has a chance. And then you're also looking at Yusef Corker. So these are 2 safeties that are probably battling for that last spot on the team. We know that Andrew Adams was just released. Dane Belton is coming back from injury, or scheduled to come back from injury. Hopefully he's ready for week 1. But Okay, so you have Julian Love, you have Xavier McKinney, Dane Belton for sure, and then now you're looking at, is it going to be Yusuf Corker? Is it going to be Trenton Thompson? Could it be somebody else? But those are my two battling for that last spot on the team. Another guy is Jashawn Corbin. Jashawn Corbin has a chance to make this 53. The guy has had a good showing so far in training camp, and I'm just excited, man. I like to see young talent on the team. The opposite of that is going to be Matt Breida, who we haven't seen the whole preseason. And I think if Matt Breida plays tomorrow and he doesn't have a good showing, he could possibly be on the bubble. So the guy goes from a running back 2 to possibly being on the bubble just because of the showing from this running backs room. Antonio Williams, Gary Brightwell, good showing, and Jashawn Corbin as a rookie has looked very, very good. So what do you do? Do you keep Matt Breida with the 1-year contract, or do you possibly get this UDFA for a great price for a few years? So we'll see what happens with that, but that's very interesting to me. Another guy is Austin Allen. To me, he is the tight end number 2 on the depth chart. Some people think he might be on the bubble. I don't think he is really, but since a lot of people think so, I'm going to put him on that list for players to watch, or UDFAs to watch, and a possible roster make for Austin Allen. And then last, Ryan Anderson, another UDFA from Indiana, played some years at Ole Miss as well, and the guy has shown he's shown a lot in these preseason games. The guy is 6'6", 275, so he has the size. He has some versatility where he can play with his hand in the dirt. You can also stand him up a bit. So Ryan Anderson is intriguing to me because, behind Leonard Williams, who do we have as a guy that can step in with his hand in the dirt but can also play that end spot? And Ryan Anderson is a guy that I think could give you some quality snaps just in case. But again, UDFA. Could he make the team? Maybe, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye on him as well. Now, just a spotlight on players that are not undrafted free agents. Devry Hamilton, I'm expecting him to start with Azudu being out and Shane Lemieux being out, and this guy has had a great showing so far. Surprises me, he came out of nowhere. And if you look at his tape, you can see that this guy knows what he's doing. He's bought into what Bobby Johnson is teaching him, and he is looking very good. When Shane Lemieux went out, when Azudu went out, we were like, what we're going to do at left guard, and this guy just steps right in, and we're not even thinking about him. So great job for Devry Hamilton. Max Garcia is another guy I want to see. He had a great second preseason game, and I want to see what he does, man, as a backup center, which I think that's a very important role to have right now with Feliciano being in and out with injuries and things like that. I think Max Garcia is a guy that makes the team. And then lastly, Cordell Flott coming back. I believe he's not out this week. I have to check again, but I want to see what he does. And then the guy that we just picked up off of waivers, Harrison Hand out of Minnesota. This guy is a good boundary cornerback, a good depth piece, a guy that you can throw in there. And unlike some guys that we pick up on waivers that are just camp bodies, I think Harrison Hand has a real chance of impressing and possibly making a 53. So that's just a quick preview of this Jets versus Giants Snoopy Bowl game that's coming up, tomorrow, and some things that I'm looking out for. And again, I do hope that the starters do play for a little bit, just so they can get some run against other starters. And yeah, man. So what do you think? What are you excited to see? What players are you looking out for? Put that in the comments down below. If you agree with some of the guys that I'm talking about as far as being on the roster bubble or not, go ahead and put that in the comments down below as well. And what are your expectations? What are your expectations for the game? I expect us to look pretty good. I expect us to move the ball down the field and are able to score. And if we're able to do that on the first drive, then you go ahead and snatch DJ and you snatch Andrew Thomas, off the field, and you let them rest and get ready for that Tennessee game in week 1. So again, I want to thank you guys for vibing with me. From one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.